Hi, my name is Jessica Boivin, and I will be presenting today on ideal static postural alignment. Alright, so in the first few slides before we begin, I've included a list of terminology that will be important throughout this presentation. In the list of terminology, I've also included a few diagrams where to find things such as the anterior superior iliac spine. The more familiar you are with this information, the easier it will be to understand later, and you won't have to pause so much and go back and review and figure out what I'm talking about. Also, it would be beneficial for yourself if you could go through the slides while you're watching the video. You can do it separately, but I've tried to make it so that you can do both at the same time. Also, get up and practice. I'm a firm believer in kinesthetic learning. So if you stand up and practice as I'm going through, it will be easier for you to understand. There will be an opportunity for you to pause the video and practice as well. All right, so let's begin. What is ideal static postural alignment? Simply put, it is a state at rest where the body can operate from at maximum capacity. If you think about it, the body doesn't operate most efficiently when it's hunched over, it's bent over backwards, twisted around, or doing a headstand. If you can do a headstand, kudos, but your body is not at rest. Essentially, it's all about balance. Now, I want you to imagine a game of tug-of-war, and this is a game of strength. Whoever's strongest wins, right? So the point is to pull the rope to your side, and you can be competing over a thing like a pool of water, a bucket of mud, a tank of bloodthirsty sharks, things like that. So the point is to win. But imagine, if you will, two teams that are equally matched in strength. And if muscle fatigue wasn't a barrier, theoretically they could pull all day and the rope wouldn't budge. That's how our muscles should operate. You're going to want the muscles to pull you evenly. You don't want your muscles pulling you more forward than backwards. You're going to want balance. Balance is key. Now that we've covered just kind of the basic what it is, it's important for us to be able to demonstrate it as personal trainers. I believe that if we're telling someone else what to do, that we should be able to do it. We're going to be seen as leaders in this position, so you're going to want to be able to show them. You don't want to tell someone to go someplace you haven't gone before. So ideal posture is key. It also prevents pain and injury. If you think about it, you're getting paid on a client-to-client basis. If someone gets injured, you're going to be looking at a loss of pay. Sure, if you have a minor injury like a sprain, take a week off, take the loss of pay. But if it's a severe injury, you're looking at a loss of income because they're going to have to take more time off of training. And if you're somehow at fault for the injury, you're also looking at possible legal ramifications. And let's face it, that just doesn't look good on a resume. So you're going to want to do everything in your power to prevent people from getting hurt. It also provides your clients with the best chance to achieve maximized endurance, stability, flexibility, and strength. Now, when we're looking at ideal static postural alignment, it has to be judged in 3 different points of view: the anterior, posterior, and lateral. And in these different points of view, you're going to find a common denominator, which is the line of gravity. And it's from here that we determine muscle imbalances, structural deviations, weaknesses, tightnesses of muscles, dominance, things like that. So it's going to be very beneficial for you in training your clients. If you think about it, it's like foundation in a building. If the foundation's out by an inch, inch and a half, by the time you get to the top, much like the Leaning Tower of Pisa, you're going to have a lot of structural difference. It doesn't look like much at the bottom, but it will eventually turn into a big thing. For example, in the human body, if you have a collapsing arch in your foot, you're looking at a knocked knee, a hip sitting lower than the other, and the spine sitting off of the line of gravity. The line of gravity will also always start from the ground and work its way up to the top through the body. And a helpful hint when you are judging postural alignment, the less clothes the better. You're not going to want to be in your birthday suit. You want your client to be comfortable, you want to be comfortable, and you don't want to be forcing anyone into their birthday suit because, again, legal ramifications don't look good on a resume. Essentially, you just don't want them to be wearing hoodies, tights, things like that, or even really loose things like this. This is going to be hard for you to judge where important things are in the body, like landmarks, the shoulder, the hip, the knee, things like that. All right, so from the anterior point of view, the body is going to be divided in two equal parts, the right and the left halves. Your feet should be equal distance from the line of gravity, and the line of gravity is going to go up from the floor in on your pubic bone, up through the umbilicus, through the sternum, and up through the chin, mouth, and nose. Your feet should be straight, but they can be angled out slightly, but no more than 15 degrees. You're not going to want to have excess pressure on any joints. The medial malleoli should be level with each other. The patellae should be facing forward and level with each other. The fingertips should be at an equal level as well, as should the iliac spine. Nipples should be level, provided you can see them. Again, we're not doing the birthday suit thing because that's awkward. Shoulders should be level. The head should not tilt to right or left. You don't want to always be looking curious or confused. You want to have that confident look about you. Earlobes should be level, and your arms should be hanging at the side with your palms facing in. Your arms should have a similar hanging pattern. So you don't want to have one out a bit more looking like you're a thug or anything like that. So again, like just a kind of confident pose about you. All right, and now we move to the posterior. Posterior is going to share some similarities with the anterior just because you're looking at the same plane. Again, the body is still going to be equally divided in right and left halves. The heels of the feet should be an equal distance from the line of gravity. And the line of gravity is going to go up through the entirety of your spine, out through the top of your head. You're not going to want your spine deviating from that at all because that indicates problems. The calcaneus should be straight up and down, and the Achilles tendon should be perpendicular to the floor. The medial malleoli should be level with each other as in the anterior point of view. And the creases of the knee and the gluteal folds should be level with each other, respectively. You don't want the crease of your knee and a gluteal fold to be level with each other there because that means you have a lot of problems. The posterior superior iliac spine should be even with each other. The shoulder blades should be level, and they should sit between the 2nd and 7th ribs, and they should rest about 5 centimeters from the spine, depending on the person's height. You're going to want the musculature of the trunk to be balanced and symmetrical. You don't want Hulk on one side and starvation victim on the other. Shoulders and earlobes respectively should be level, and the arms again should hang to the side palms facing the thighs. From the lateral point of view, the line of gravity is going to look a bit different just because it's a different plane we're looking at. It's going to start just anterior to the lateral malleolus. Go up through the center of the knee, and then it will continue posterior to the hip joint, midway through the trunk of the body, and it will continue up through the middle of the shoulder joint, through the cervical bodies of the neck, and end in the middle of the ear. The lower leg and the foot should create a 90-degree angle with each other. And by doing so, you're not going to want to have body weight more on the toes than on the heels. You're going to want body weight to be evenly distributed. Knees should be straight but not locked. The aces and pieces should align horizontally but have a slight anterior tilt. So on myself, that would be here and here. You're not going to want it to be too far tilted and not having a flat back as well. The aces and the pubic symphysis should be aligned on the frontal plane. So the aces here and the pubic symphysis will rest about here. You can figure out where that is. It is in the list of terminology as well. And you should have mild curves in the lumbar and cervical spine, and your chin should be slightly tucked. Now, I'm going to want you to get up and practice this now. This is going to be a point where you can pause the video, take a few minutes, and note areas in your own posture that you're going to need to improve. You might need to use a mirror. For myself, I know I have a naturally collapsing arch, causes me to have a knocked knee, a hip that sits lower than the other. Due to previous injuries, I have a shoulder that rolls slightly farther than the other one. So take a few minutes and figure out where these imbalances are in yourself. And now we're going to truck along to common flaws in ideal posture. Just for sake of time, we're just going to cover 3 common deviations. We're not going to go over like too much weight on the toes or people who project their head too far ahead. What we're going to be dealing with is lordosis, kyphosis, and scoliosis. All right, so I want you to imagine a pregnant lady. She's not just 1 or 2 months along, but she's nearing the end of her pregnancy. She's uncomfortable. She's going to let you know it. All right, now think about her spine. Is that the way a typical spine looks? No. If you answered no, you've won the privilege of being right. Congratulations. What she is most likely suffering from is a condition called lordosis. Lordosis is an excessive curvature of the lumbar spine. If it's safe for you to do so, I'd like you to stand up and practice this, pause if you need, and just write down common complaints like a sore lower back, things that you need to watch out for as a trainer, like different exercises that you may want to avoid that could worsen the condition, and exercises that would improve the condition. All right, and kyphosis is the next one we're going to look at. Kyphosis is an excessive curvature of the upper thoracic spine, and it gives you a rounded back or a hunchback appearance. Speaking of hunchback, if you need a visual reference, think of the Hunchback of Notre Dame. I'm sure we've all seen it, or have had kids who watched it endlessly and tormented us. So Quasimodo, I'm pretty sure he has a few other conditions thrown in there, but for sake of the presentation, we'll use him as an example. Just stand in this position and just think about like different pressure that you would feel, excessive pressure, what different populations would experience this. Well, definitely an older population or those suffering with osteoporosis are more prone to suffer from kyphosis than anything else. Also, you're going to want to know what is safe to do exercise-wise and what is unsafe to do. All right, so last but not least, scoliosis. Scoliosis is a lateral deviation of the spine. So you're almost looks like you're going to dodge something, but you're perpetually stuck in that state. It can be hard to tell, especially if you don't have a chart behind you to help you tell what's straight up and down and what's not. So it's pretty important for minor or cases that are not as severe to have that, to help just to help see what's what there. A famous example of someone who has scoliosis would be Kurt Cobain of Nirvana. He suffered from scoliosis during his lifetime before he passed away a few years ago. Scoliosis is frequently developed during adolescence in young teenage girls, but it can be suffered in both male and female populations. Again, practice standing in this position. Where are you going to notice excess pressure? Are you going to notice, like, in your posterior superior iliac spine, for example, like that is uncomfortable? Are you noticing excess pressure in the neck? Like, I want you to really go through and write down what you're experiencing. Also, is this going to be a condition that you can work with? How are they being treated? Are they wearing a back brace? Do they need surgical correction for their spine? Things like that you're going to want to be aware of. So why is this so important? Well, it's ideal static postural alignment is a point of body at rest where it operates from maximum capacity. And that's the point. It's the body at rest. We're not looking at the body in motion. We're looking at the foundation for good motion. If the body if the body is hunched over because of an imbalance in static postural alignment, it minimizes the chance that you're going to have a good form during kinetic movement. You're going to want to correct the imbalances in the back. For example, if you're hunched over and then stretch out the muscles in the anterior shoulder. And yeah, like it's definitely something that will take time, but it will definitely be worth it for your client in the end. Now, what's in it for you? Providing your client with the opportunity for their best performance possible gives them the chance to give optimal strength, stability, flexibility, and endurance. You're looking at improving their quality of life. And if you improve the quality of life, they're more likely going to continue training with you, and more likely than not, they'll recommend you to friends and family. So you're looking at more income. All right, so quick review. Ideal static postural alignment is the body at rest. Must be examined from 3 points of view: anterior, posterior, and lateral. I've made a quiz online that you will find the link in YouTube in the description below. Please complete that. It will be very useful to review the postural aspects of everything. Thank you for watching. I hope that you've learned a lot, and I look forward to watching everyone else's presentations.